All right, everybody, welcome in. There is some massive background noise. Okay, there we go. I think it went away. Not really. What is that?
Oh, it might
Throwing me
be.
off.
Could it be my blender bottle?
It probably
Is this what you're hearing?
Probably is. I'm like, what
Is
the hell is that? Good
Let me put
morning,
it to the
everyone.
microphone. Let me put it to the microphone. Is it gone now? Because
It's gone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figures or Buzz podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. Episode 70, 70 people.
We're cranking, baby. We're crushing.
We're cranking.
We're moving. We're grooving.
We're moving and
70.
grooving. So there's actually several topics that we wanted to cover with you guys in today's episode. Little sneak peek on the main topic. I mean, we have a CMS proposal to break down for you guys.
We do.
Hot off the presses for the ACA world. I spent about an hour last night going through it, trying to get an idea of kind of what actually is entailed in said proposal. And so we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking very briefly about Medicare Advantage Medicare Advantage and why there's so many agents out there that hate it. And we're going to be talking a little bit about our book of finding and acquiring book of business course. We're going to kind of talk about all of that in today's episode. Let me start off with this, though, to kind of start off the show. So I wanted to pose a question to you, good sir, but also to the audience.
All right.
What is your opinion of events that do not intentionally pick the best talent to provide value to their audience and instead put people on the stages, if you'd even call them that, simply for the fact that they're buying big sponsorships? I understand maybe some of that, but if that is the entire event, what do you call that? What do you call that?
Talk about a loaded question right out the gate here this morning, you guys. Yeah, I think it feels like a timeshare pitch at that point a little bit, right? I mean, we've talked privately a lot about this, without naming names or naming events. There have been events in the past that are directed at insurance agents where, that's the structure of the entire event, right? You pay to get on the stage, and then once you're on stage, you are purely trying to sell to the audience. You're not really there to provide value. And it just creates a bad experience all the way around, in my opinion. I don't think you're getting the same type of event where if there is value being provided, if someone's there and they're not getting paid to be on that stage. One thing I'll say too, kind of early on, a principle that I've always believed in, I still believe to this day, part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast right now, is I've always believed that if you give away value for free, that people will find you and people will want to work with you.
Agreed.
That you don't have to hard pitch. You don't have to pay to get in front of people all the time. I think you can genuinely just give away value, and then people are like, oh, that was really helpful, or oh man, I was able to use this. I want to work with this person.
Yeah, 100%. And both of us are examples of that time and time again in kind of how we've conducted our own businesses and now together as a joint business, right? That's kind of our philosophy. And so,
there was an event that got named in the comments.
I'm going to go into it. I'm going to go into it for just a couple minutes to start the show. So let me rewind.
By the way, is this the spicy topic yesterday? You're like, we could do shots, or we can get it. Is this is that? I knew it. I knew it.
Okay, let me rewind back a little bit. When I first came into the space, probably when we both first came into the space, events were not a a big part of the industry. There was the MedSup conference at the time, and that was probably the only event. And I never actually did go to it, but talking to people that were routine attendees of that event, or maybe they went once, the conception of it was really more or less that it was, talking about legislation, compliance, like that was kind of the whole thing of the entire event. It was kind of looked at as a little bit boring, right? But it was the only big event that the industry had, so they would have historically a lot of people at it, right? Like I would often hear they'd have 600 to 1,000 people or more that would attend. Fast forward, right? The MedSup conference changes hands, changes into Medicarians, being ran by the same people that run LeadsCon and some other events, right? And I've never been to Medicarians. I've never been to LeadsCon. So take my opinion.
I have.
So before I go any deeper, what was your experience at LeadsCon?
Yeah.
And what year did you go?
It was 2017, 2018 that I went to LeadsCon last. It was a mixed bag. Massive event. Probably one of the biggest events I've ever been to. In the sense of, it was at the Paris Hotel, their conference center, probably hundreds of vendors who had set up booths. I remember it took me probably almost half the day just to walk the vendors. There were a few presentations that I got a lot of value out of, though, that I quoted for a long time. I want to say it was Velocify. I don't even know if they're still around. They probably are. Shout out to Velocify. I think it was the CEO or president. He had some really strong stats talking about independent studies that they had done on their internal system through their dialer, through their CRM. And I remember being like, this is great. This is great content. This is the type of stuff I'm here for. Mm-hmm. But there was also a lot of what we had, just kind of talked about. There was a lot of people who paid to play, who showed up and were just there to pitch, just there to sell you something.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm trying to remember what year the MedSup conference changed hands into Medicarians. Yeah. I want to say, and someone can fact check me if you like, 2020, 2021, something like that. Somewhere in there. That
sounds about right. 2021, yeah. That sounds about right. It's probably year 3, I think. Year 4 this year.
Yeah, and the feedback I got year 1 from people, because, there are a lot of the same people that would, sponsor or go to that event versus our event, right? So there's some overlap there. And I would hear from people just kind of feedback that, like, the first year, there was no agents. It was like all vendors.
Yeah.
Yep. And the sponsors were not too happy about that. They've made some changes to make it a little bit more like, we want the agents there, because now they're trying to appease the sponsors. That whole event is about appeasing the sponsors. It's not about the agents. It's not about the content. It's about how do you make the sponsors happy. Right. And I always found it strange that was the only big event that never invited me to do anything. The only one, period. I've either spoken at every big event or I've been invited to and I couldn't for whatever reason. That one never ever wanted to. So then I'm paying attention the last couple of years to the names of the people they're having doing sessions and the names of the people that are super involved. And I'm like, what is this? And don't get me wrong, there's some awesome, phenomenal people that I like, that I'm very fond of, that are doing things at that event.
Yeah.
But there is such a slew of names where I'm like, they're not credible. They're not credible. Wait, let me finish this.
Yeah.
There's also been situations where there's people that I know in the industry that I would feel very comfortable calling them frauds. They're unethical, horrible reputation people and they're front and center. And then I start looking at the sponsors, and the highest end sponsors are matching the.
Tell me how you really feel. Tell me how you really feel.
Not naming any specific names in terms of that, but
I know who you're talking about too. I know there's one person in particular that's front and center when you say these. I'm almost positive I know who you're talking about.
That person's definitely in the mix, but there's other people too. There's other people too.
There is.
There's actually a pretty good laundry list of people where I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
And Christian Brindle doesn't even get an invite. And why? Because Christian Brindle's not opening up the checkbook.
You're not paying. Yeah, you're not paying. It's a pay to play for sure situation. But here's the thing with a lot of these. It's like, what are you going for? What do you want out of an event? If you're purely going there just to rub shoulders with certain people, maybe a pay to play style event would still fit for you. Because the thing is, there's certain people out there who are going to do the pay to play, whether it's to go, insurance carrier executives, they might fit into this paradigm. So it kind of circles back to what you're really in it for. I will say that when I've been to several different events over the years, and there is a completely different vibe to events where everyone's there to learn, to grow. They're trying to get to the next level in their business. They're sharing things with each other at the table, versus these other types of events where it is more of a pay to play style, where people are really there to sell, whether it's selling on the side or selling from stage. It's just completely different energy. It really is. So you have to kind of ask yourself what your goal is. Like, what are you genuinely trying to do?
Here's my, I guess, my thoughts on this. And that is about that event in particular. That is typically what I hear. It's a networking event, that kind of thing. It's not about the content. So if you're working for a carrier or you're a carrier rep, maybe you should be there. If you're working for an FMO, maybe you should be there. If you're an agent, save your money. Don't go. Go to events that actually have content, that actually put people on the stage.
Did you take Alpha Brain this morning? You took Alpha Brain this morning, didn't you?
I'm just telling it like it is, right? Like, because if I'm an agent and I'm looking to grow my business, am I going to get value from networking with 100 different FMOs that I all want to recruit me? No.
Absolutely not. No.
Am I going to get value from rubbing shoulders with some carrier reps? Sure, certainly. But you can do that anywhere, at any event.
Yep.
Am I going to get value from networking with other agents? Probably so. Again, you can do that at any event. I've always kind of scoffed at the whole networking thing, because any event that you can go to, there's networking because there's other people there.
Yeah.
That's all networking is. You just get around other people.
Sure.
Like, there's no science to that.
But it's who do you want to surround yourself with? And I think that's a really valid point, though, is what value are you going to get out of the same, like, if it's the same person essentially that you're around, if it's 100 different FMOs and their all end goal is to recruit you, what value are you really even getting out of that type of networking? Unless you're genuinely wanting to go speed date FMOs. If that's genuinely where you're at in your career, right? If that's genuinely, then go for it, right?
Then we'll see you in Vegas.
Yeah.
No, I just started thinking about this, and I'm like, if and don't get me wrong, right? Like, I'm not of the opinion that, like, I'm the only person that you can invite to take the stage to bring value. There's plenty of great people.
For sure.
But I see the names of the people that are there versus, take me out of it. There's a lot of names that still are not there, that aren't being, aren't included. And, it just makes me believe that, like, there is no intention to bring any value to your audience. There's just, it's just not there.
Solid question here. So solid question here from someone. Again, guys, Freebie Fridays every Friday. All you have to do is comment on one of the live streams that are happening in the group, 7-Figure Medicare Agent on Facebook. So we're streaming the podcast on all sorts of different platforms. You can find it on YouTube. But when you comment on the live streams in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group, that enters you into the raffle. We do it every single Friday. We've been doing it for months now. It's wild. We've given away tens of thousands of dollars. We might go bankrupt from Freebie Friday. It's very possible. I'm going to contact my attorney. We're going to have to talk about it. But great question from someone on the stream. It says, will you guys talk about ACA during your summit? Christian, what do you have to say to that?
It's a great question. I mean, historically, we've always had some speakers that will kind of lean into certain ACA topics. So the way we do our event is we try to put the best people on the stage every single year, and regardless of if they're affiliated with us or anything like that. And so we also don't dictate to them what we want them to talk about. You know, if somebody doesn't know genuinely what to talk about, they might ask for a suggestion. I might be like, well, I really think the audience would value hearing this from you. But outside of that, we kind of give them free reins to talk about what they want to. So typically there's somebody that goes down the ACA rabbit hole. Historically, that's always been the case. But it's not like we have planned ACA segments or anything like that. But you know, there's a lot of ACA topics that end up coming up over the course of the event. And there's also a lot of things that are transferable to ACA too. But no, I mean, I'm not, and my intention was not to come on and just crap all over their event. But truthfully, I think it's a genuine question to ask yourself. If you're thinking about events, which ones you should go to, are you there to get pitched by 100 FMOs for a couple days? Are you there to rub shoulders with carrier reps, which you have access to all the time? All of you do, by the way. You all have carrier reps in your market, and have no content. And the content that's there is there to sell you, and probably not from the most qualified people. They're paying to play. Or do you want to go to an event that provides all the same networking without, but you have content from people that are specifically chosen to pour value into you? So just a question.
I can genuinely say too that Christian and I have put competitors on stage. We did it last year, and we're going to do it this year. People who are technically directly competing with us in one of our different verticals, right? We have 5 different companies. So a lot of people are technically competitors, but because we are here to provide value and we see someone who we think can provide value, that's the goal, right? Mm-hmm. The goal is to have a great event. We want people to leave the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit and be like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back next year. What an event. And if that means we're taking someone who's technically a competitor and putting them on stage, we have no problem doing that. And most events aren't like that, I would say. I would say the vast majority of events would never do that I've seen.
Yeah. So just something to think about in terms of what you're actually signing up and going to. I wanted to shift gears a little bit into this episode's sponsor. We have a couple of other topics to get to, so I won't waste any more time on this.
By the way, you're welcome, Andrew, for getting. We saved that one. We saved you from being a part of that one. No sound bites with you in it, Andrew. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, he chose wisely. He chose wisely. I gave the choice.
He did.
Okay, so this episode's sponsor. Let's talk about it. Right, this episode's sponsor is brought to you guys by the How to Find and Buy Books of Business mini course that we have out. Guys, over the last couple of years, we have grown our internal agency's book of business by multiple thousands of clients through acquisition. We've learned a lot along the way. We've made mistakes here and there. We've learned how to structure deals. We've learned how to value deals. We've learned how to value clients, different types of policies. What do you even need to look for? This is a mystery to a lot of people. But it is a tremendous way to leapfrog your competitors and instantly, like that, grow on a scale that which you probably didn't even think was possible. And you don't always necessarily have to get funding. You might not have the pockets to be able to do it. That's okay. You can structure deals in different ways. We go over all of that in this mini course training. It's 10 to 15 videos, and it's only $197. At the end of this week, on Friday the 14th, it will be the final day that you can pick up this training. Okay, we're going to be grandfathering it away, and it won't be available to the public anymore. It's one and done. There's no recurring fees. Once you get in, you're in for life. And, if you have interest in growing your book of business through buying books of businesses, this is a great training for you. In 2024, Glenn and I purchased over 900 clients through acquisition. Most agents won't write 900 clients in their career.
Yeah.
And we're working on one right now to bring in about another 500. And so, these are proven tactics that can really help you grow exponentially in a short period of time. Get into this training while you can.
Guys, this is a huge opportunity for you in your business. We talk about compliance all the time, TCPA compliance, permission to contact. If you have someone who is an existing client, you're the agent of record, your agency is the agency of record with that client, that circumvents all of that compliance. You can outreach to these Medicare beneficiaries to discuss their policy, to discuss other potential policies that would be a good fit for them. It is such a great business model. I'm in love. I'm honestly in love with the acquisition of other books of businesses. And the thing is, another great thing about this that I want everyone to wrap their heads around. We're talking about 900 clients. We're talking about massive purchases that Christian and I have made, but they can be really small. Mm-hmm. You can have huge success picking up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 clients. And it makes sense. You run the numbers, you run the math. Even if you have to borrow the money, it will almost always make sense unless you're paying way too much for that, which again, it's in the mini course. So head over to sevenfigure.com, sevenfigure.com/course. If you head over to sevenfigure.com, you'll find this mini course. It's going away this Thursday. So you'd be crazy to not pick this up for $197. For the cost of one policy, you're going to learn how you can grow your agency, grow your book of business by tenfold. So I'm super excited about all of that.
Someone asked about a link. I'm trying to get it. Hang on just a second, guys.
Link in the video description below. Again, I think it's
description.
sevenfigure.com/course.
So while I pull that up, I did want to discuss a topic really quickly before we get into the main topic. And I thought it was an interesting one that was asked in the group recently. And a lot of different, answers, opinions to this topic of conversation. And that was, why are there so many Medicare agents that hate Medicare Advantage and demonize it? When I ask that question,
this is a spicy show today.
What comes to mind? Right. What comes to mind to you, good sir?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I saw that post. That post was like mini viral. How many people we had two different posts lately that I feel like covered this in the group, and I feel like it's definitely conversation worthy. But the first thing that comes to mind when I hear demonization of Medicare Advantage, and honestly, I'm a recovering Medicare Advantage hater myself. I'll put that out there too, you guys. I was one of them.
Did I cure you?
You helped a lot. I've slowly been weaning myself off the hate for many years now, but I came into the industry through the Medicare supplement side of the business. I worked with some of the biggest Medicare supplement producers you've ever seen or heard of. And again, the pitch a lot of times to Medicare beneficiaries was the demonization of Medicare Advantage. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I got two options for you. I got Medicare Advantage. It's going to steal your soul. It's made by Satan. Or I've got Medicare supplement insurance. It's the best thing you've ever seen. You're going to pay $180 a month premium, plan F, plan G. So, again, that was my route into the Medicare world. I came from the life insurance side of the business. I came into Medicare through the Medicare supplement space. I'm working with some of the biggest Medicare supplement producers. I'm listening to them sell over the phone. And a lot of times that was their pitch. I'm exaggerating to a degree.
Only barely,
though. However, it's a small degree. It really is. And again, my opinion now today is different than it was. And I would also say you're doing the beneficiary a disservice if you're getting really slanted with your pitch. I think you should be much more educational.
Yeah.
And, you make a recommendation. Make a recommendation for sure. Be consultative. Hey, Mrs. Jones, based on what you're telling me, I really think this would be the best plan for you. Not to mention from a compliance standpoint, I feel like if you're essentially saying, hey, all of these Medicare Advantage plans are shit, you need to get a Medicare supplement plan, is essentially not a compliant sales pitch, in my opinion. That's neither here nor there. Again, just doing the right thing for the beneficiary is to say, hey, based on what you're telling me, I think this is the best plan for you. This is how these plans work. What do you think? What would you like to do?
Yeah. I think it kind of, I think there's two sides of this. I think when Medicare Advantage first came out, 2005, 2006 range, I think it was a lot different than it is now. I think that, there were real problems with it. Not that there's not real problems with it today, because there are some issues. It's not a perfect product by any means. But I think the issues that people would see was probably a lot more severe. I think the network situation was more of a problem. I think
for sure.
I think denial of claims was a lot more of a problem. One thing that comes up all the time is like the TRICARE situation. The TRICARE situation, it was a mess when it first came out. I know that for a fact. People had to file their own claims when they had TRICARE for Life and Medicare Advantage, which still people today in 2025, 20 years later, are still saying is the case, has been the case for 15 years or something like that. But early on, it was that way. And so I think it started maybe with a lot of agents like, pushing back against it because they felt like it truly wasn't a good product for their client. Maybe fair at that point in time. And then I think like it got to the point where there were agents that just were so stuck in their ways, a lot of the old guard that were selling MedSup in the 90s, the 2000s, you know what I mean? To where they're like, okay, the Medicare Advantage plans are getting better. We're having clients ask about it more and more. How do we stop this? Well, we're going to make it sound as terrible as possible. So it became almost like part of their sales script. And then you had people that were like early adopters of Medicare YouTube, as I like to call it. And, if you're creating content on YouTube, where are people most likely going to contact you?
With hundreds of insurance agents and agency owners at the event, this could not be a better opportunity to spotlight your business. If you're looking for a sponsorship opportunity and where to spend your sponsorship dollars this year, the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit is the spot to do it. You can have your own booth. You can network with agents. This is the 4th annual summit, so there's going to be a lot of agents there and a lot of agents who are looking for help from vendors for leads, educational vendors. You could have a software tool. There's so many great vendors that we've had in the past, and we're looking at a lot of great opportunities for businesses to sponsor at the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. So if you are looking for a sponsorship opportunity, make sure to check out 7figuresmedicareagentsummit.com.
Get your tickets today while they're still available and reach out about sponsorship opportunities. We'd love to have you involved with the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit in 2025. Now back to the show. All over, right?
Yeah, like, email, call in,
all 50
website.
States. All 50 states.
From all. Okay, they're saying like what?
Where in the country? Like where in the country?
Yeah, anywhere for sure.
All over the place. And we all know it is infinitely easier to sell a MedSup all over the country than a Medicare Advantage plan. It's just very complicated if you're trying to sell Advantage plans all over the country. It's, you have different networks, different areas, different hospital systems, everything, right?
Yep, 100%.
And so I think there, from that standpoint, it was like, okay, it's going to simplify my life exponentially if I'm a Medicare supplement specialist only. And so if you're a Medicare supplement specialist only, the way you're going to accomplish that is by, assassinating the character of the competition. It's basically like a political candidate running against the other side political candidate.
100%.
Have you ever seen that South Park where Mr. Garrison's running as Trump, and he's running against Hillary Clinton? She's like, my opponent is a liar and cannot be trusted. Like, no matter what he says, and he's like, I'm not qualified for this job. She should be president. He's like, my opponent is a liar and cannot be.
He just like keeps going up in the polls. He's like, yeah. That's a great episode.
It's like that, It's like no matter what is actually going on with Medicare Advantage, it has to be demonized. It has to be, because at the end of the day, it has to be in order to sell the product that they're trying to sell. So it's stretched. The truth is stretched exponentially.
I think the simplicity is where a lot of the hate came from too, is because agents wanted the simplicity of being able to offer a plan F, G, or N, that they didn't want to get into Medicare. So what's the downside of Medicare Advantage to an agent that wants to keep it simple? Again, like you mentioned, if they're selling over the phone in a bunch of different states, it's harder to sell because you have to keep up with different regions and what's going on, different networks, etc. Tons of different plans versus just having the same F, G, or N all over the place. So that's one strike against Medicare Advantage. Now you've got the compliance surrounding Medicare Advantage, right? 48-hour rule. That's another strike against selling it from an agent that's trying to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the simplicity part of it is I don't have to get, here's another one is going through additional trainings, right? With specific care. I mean, it blows my mind when AEP rolls around how much time, it seems like it's growing exponentially too, if I'm being honest. I mean, we have over 90 different carrier relationships. So not all of those are Medicare Advantage, but when it comes to certifications, you have to do CMS certs. You have to do certs with all the carriers. That is super time consuming, and it's not fun. There's not a single, and if it is fun, then you're a carrier rep or something. I don't know who you should be a carrier rep. There's no, if you're literally like, I can't wait to do my certs this year, like, what are you doing? I don't know what you're doing. But so there's all this stuff that from an agent that wants to keep it simple. Selling Med Sup is like selling final expense. It's so simple. You have, a couple different options. Here's the premium, Mrs. Jones. You can take your card to the doctor. I mean, it's so simple. So I think that's part of it. I think that's part of why it gets a lot of hate from a certain set of agents.
I do too. I definitely think so. Like, there was this like era of agents, I feel like, as Medicare Advantage was really kind of growing in the 2010s, that they would only sell MedSup, and their business model was exactly what you said, right? Simplified, standardized plans.
Yep.
They have 3 to 5 carriers they sell a lot. Maybe they have some behind the scenes that they sell from time to time. They're experts in that. They don't do any certifications. They have the client self-enroll for PDPs. They don't do AHIP. They, and they demonize Medicare Advantage till the sun comes home, till the cows come home, right? Like any situation that comes up that they can use to throw Medicare Advantage literally and figuratively under the bus, they're looking to do that. And, it may have been a situation where, maybe there's a Medicare Advantage news story. It's like Medicare Advantage denies a claim for grandma. and grandma's speaking out or something like that, right? It's like, oh, see. And if you look at the claim, like, oh, what was the problem? Oh, the hospital billed it as an ear infection. Grandma went in for a broken hip,
Right.
and the hospital didn't fix it.
Yep.
And it's the insurance company's fault. But still, that detail is left out, and there's somebody on a video somewhere being like, see, smoking gun, and
don't you feel like a lot of these old guard, like MedSup only guys are like retiring? They're like getting out of the business. I when I think about like the bigger producers that I used to work with at Lead Heroes, a lot of them are no longer around. They've sold their business, or they got, they're not actively soliciting new clients. They're just servicing their book type of situation. So I think that's kind of led to a new era. I think Gen X and millennials are kind of becoming the new guard.
Yeah. I think so.
could knight you on. Should we have a knighting ceremony for you at the summit this year? Be like, Christian Brindle, you are now entering the old guard.
Oh God.
You are now Sir Christian Brindle.
We'll
talk about it in the summit. We have a summit meeting today, you guys. We'll talk about knighting Christian on stage. Okay.
You're wearing like a robe, like a Colt, full on Colt hooded robe. You're like, are you ready? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
The lights go up.
There's a spotlight.
Christian Brindle, you're entering the old guard of the Medicare producer world. Do you accept this responsibility?
Yeah, I think all of those reasons, they have a lot to do with it. I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to make sure we have time to talk about this CMS proposal. It has to do with ACA, not Medicare. For those of you that
I also genuinely have no idea what this is. I'm genuinely totally out of so this is like Glenn reacts to CMS ACA proposals, which is always scary.
Live reaction.
It's kind of scary, but yeah, live reaction. Here we go.
Okay, so it came out either yesterday or the day before. Like literally last couple of days. So it's titled CMS Initiative to Curb Improper Enrollments and Lower Marketplace Costs. Now remember, this is just a proposal right now. It's not a final rule or anything like that. CMS's goal is to stop the rise of improper enrollments in ACA. CMS highlighted a significant surge in questionable ACA marketplace enrollments in recent years, expanded subsidies from 2021, and relaxed verification checks led to a jump in applications with data mismatches from about 2.6 million in 2020 to 6.3 million in 2022. So let me explain that real quick. They're saying the number of applications that went in that had basically data mismatches, incorrect data for whatever the case. It could be someone's income, whatever the case might be. Most likely income. Went from 2.6 million applications in 2020 to 6.3 million in 2022.
Oof, that's a huge jump.
That's huge.
It's like 300%.
And we all knew people over this time. You and I both knew people that were publicly saying, just throw the subsidy on every application to get it to go through. Thanks, guys. Here we are.
Someone called me in the last few weeks. Actually, I guess it was just text. I'm lying. It was just text messages. However, I had a conversation with someone who was bragging about their new home, custom home. I mean, it was stunning. They sent me a video of it. Stunning home. And this person is one of the people. I'm just like, wow, great house. He's like, yeah, ACA really came through, bro. I'm like, okay. I'm sure it did.
Okay, so after the 2023 coverage year, CMS received many customer complaints about being enrolled without consent. Research indicates 4 to 5 million people were improperly enrolled in subsidized marketplace plans when they didn't qualify at all.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's probably even more than that. I'm surprised it's not a bigger number. Would you say you thought it was even more than that if you had to
Probably.
guess? Yeah,
Probably
it's
so.
got to be more. It's got to be even more than that.
Okay, so here's the proposed rules. There's several things. Number 1, ending the low income special enrollment period. Just gone. So what's being abused? History, son.
See ya.
If this passes. So
Adios.
It goes to eliminate the year-round monthly SEP for individuals with incomes below 150% of the federal poverty level. This SEP currently lets people delay enrollment until they get sick. Ending it encourages continuous coverage and preventative care rather than last-minute enrollment. That's number 1. Number 2, strengthening eligibility verification. So basically, I'll just explain this one. Nowadays with the marketplace, more often than not, if you put in an app and it has an SEP, the marketplace is not going to come back and ask for proof of the SEP. This is basically saying carriers now have to start doing a better job of policing the actual SEPs that the people actually qualify for them. Income checks, all of that kind of stuff. This one is kind of interesting. $5 premium requirement for auto re-enrollment to ensure no one is unknowingly kept on a plan. If an enrollee on a fully subsidized plan, meaning they're paying $0,
right?
Actively, if they don't actively confirm their eligibility during renewal, meaning they don't like go through and re-enroll, they just roll over to the new year,
right?
Which a lot of people they don't follow up with their clients during OEP, so this would happen a lot. It will reduce their subsidy by $5. So all of a sudden they were paying $0, they're paying $5 a month now, which can be prevented if they are re-enrolled during
legitimate, right? It's a legitimate enrollment, right?
This was a big one. I saw a lot of chatter on the Facebook groups about this one. Shortening open enrollment. Currently, open enrollment goes from November 1st to December 15th and then opens up again in January, from January 1st to January 15th. This would change it to where it is completely done December 15th. So it doesn't open back up again in January.
Probably should. That's a simple one, right?
Yeah, I think
God bless health agents' souls. By the time January rolls around, I'm like, they don't need this. Nobody needs this. Get it by December 15th, or don't have health insurance. Keep going.
I feel like on that one, there's two sides of it, right? There's that side, which is very valid. The other side of it is there are a lot of agents that will push some enrollments off to January so they can finish AEP.
Sure.
And so having them overlap like that will
hurt their business. Yeah.
So I think it just depends on kind of your business model.
That's true.
But basically with this new proposal, all your apps have to be done December 15th. So it's more of a time crunch for AEP, OEP all together. Probably, I would imagine it makes your open enrollment harder if you do a lot of both.
For sure. If you're doing both and you have less time, that would definitely make it harder. Keep going.
Updating essential health benefits. So add sex trait modification to the list of services that cannot be required as essential health benefits starting in 2026. This means insurers would not be mandated to cover certain gender-related medical interventions as part of the new presidential administration's orders. So basically, I take that as, I don't know how deep we want to get into that.
I think we can leave that one right where it's at.
Okay, we got it.
Keep going. We got it.
The last one had to do with I don't think this one's a huge thing. It's more so talking about like people that are in the country legally and verifying, they're lawfully present, being able to get marketplace plans, things like that. So to me, I think the big things were the change in enrollment period and ending the low income special enrollment period and requiring, I think there's a lot of these that are big. I think requiring the extra verification for eligibility, and the $5 subsidy reduction. I think that one's big. I don't think people are really understanding that. So let's paint a picture. Let's say you have 500 or to 1,000 people on the books that are getting a $0 premium plan. That means if you don't go and re-enroll all of them during open enrollment, they all start paying $5 a month in January.
Right.
Or you can go back and figure out how to re-enroll all of them, and they won't. They'll still stay at zero.
Some of those people probably can't even afford to pay $5 a month, right? So that's the part that I think is most interesting about it is basically by not servicing your book, there's going to be people who automatically just disenroll, right? Where they're just like, I can't pay a $5 a month premium, and then their policy falls off.
I think if this proposal went through exactly the way it's written up, ACA is flipped on its head in a lot of ways. Like dramatically different. They've already taken steps last year to make it a more difficult enrollment process from the standpoint of like, you need the verifications, you need all, like to prevent the no call stuff. This just makes that even more so. I feel like, I think ending the low income SEP, I think they probably saw the majority of abuses. Let's
start with that first one, right? Let's kind of go back through the list now that you've gone through it. So what do you think about that first part of it? Is just completely ending that low income, because that is probably the biggest abuse of all of it, right? I just mentioned that story of I can't tell you how many people I've heard pitch that to agents. I mean, to swaths of agents, just rooms full of agents, downlines, just put $0 on the app, right? I've heard it. I've literally heard it.
Bad.
It's so bad. It's really, really bad. It's really bad.
I think that one in combination with the strengthening of the eligibility verification, I think those two together are going to make it harder to just get an app to go through. Like you have to prove that the person is really qualifying for the enrollment period, number one. But number two, that was really the main way that people were enrolling in ACA all year round. Now it's going to be very seasonal with your occasional SEP.
Yeah.
So
do you support that then? You think they should get rid of that, the low income SEP year round? I'm kind of leaning towards yes, to be honest, just because the abuse has been so blatant with that one.
So I'm kind of torn. I'm supportive of them. Like, I feel like if they kept that around, because, and they were able to, create a combination with the eligibility verification on that, right? Like, you police it a little bit better, right? Like you police it a little bit better. You make sure that people actually meet the income qualifications, which they can do, instead of just completely getting rid of it. I hate seeing SEPs just completely go away.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Medicare Advantage FEMA SEP. I hate seeing that going away, even though it was totally abused into the ground. Part of me feels like I'm like, there's got to be a better way, to opposed to just getting rid of it entirely. Maybe it can be policed more, but I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe not. I'm not in those meetings, but
not yet. Not yet. Trump's gonna call any day. You're gonna get your call to DC. It's coming.
You got the call before I do. Hello, is this Mr. Shelton? Listen, it's the president. We need you.
I'm on my way. Sir, I'm on my way. Hold that meeting. By the way, while we're on this topic, I've got my laser pointer. I'm gonna see if I can point to. It's really hard doing it behind my head. Dr. Oz. Mr. Mehmet Dr. Oz.
I feel like we need a Batman light in the sky, and like it's his face.
It starts with Oprah.
Where are you?
It's Oprah, and she's like, today I have a special guest on, and then it's just Dr. Oz. He comes out. CMS is in charge of ACA, correct?
Yes.
So these proposals essentially are going to have to get passed. I'm assuming it wouldn't. You're going to tell me something's going to pass before we get the new administrator?
I certainly hope not. I would be shocked. I would be in shock if that happened.
That's what I've been thinking about kind of this whole time as you're going through this. I'm like, man, Mehmet's not even in yet. Like, what are we proposing? Like, what are we talking about, you guys? Like, and again, I am all for trying to get rid of some of this abuse. It's obvious those stats are wild. 6 million, and I bet it's even higher. Even higher. So I think something's got to give for sure. That $5 one's really interesting.
That one is slept on to me. Like, I don't see that many people talking about it. But, like, for those of you that have big ACA books of business and you've been using this tactic, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's that is, in my opinion, just a full-on nightmare. Imagine you have 5,000 ACA clients or something, whatever. Like, you have 2,000, 3,000. You have staff. Sure, your staff can help. I understand, but like, man, that's brutal. That is rough.
Yeah. You could end up losing. It's got to increase attrition. It has to. Even if you're good at what you're doing, you're probably going to lose a few more than you normally would.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I think what this does, I think what it does is, I think like anything CMS puts out, there is a legitimate problem they're trying to solve. It's just the wrong medicine for it, right? Like, they never seem to get things 100% right. They just go like 0 to 10. They're like, bad agent, bad call center, bad.
It's interesting too, because and again, keep in mind, you guys, this is a proposal. So even if something like this were to pass, or some of this were to pass, a lot of times it looks different from when it gets proposed. We've seen this historically, especially with CMS. Parts of it get left out, parts of it get changed. If something were to get implemented, this sounds like a brainstorming session to me. That's what I'm hearing.
As most of the proposals are.
Right. So, I mean, this is a glorified brainstorming session among those who are trying to, again, get rid of the fraud, which we all agree is there, right? Super interesting to see what's going to happen. And again, once my boy Mehmet here, I bet he would love to see a laser just right on his forehead. Once my boy Mehmet here comes into power, finally gets appointed and gets through his Senate confirmation hearing, which I'm really hoping by April 1st, you guys. I'm really hoping. I keep checking the news, waiting for the headline. I'm waiting for the headline. Mehmet Oz, Senate confirmation hearing scheduled next week. The Democrats are gearing up to ask him some tough-hitting questions. I'm waiting for it. I'm genuinely waiting for it, because first of all, I think it's going to be great content. I'm going to watch watch every minute of that set. I haven't seen really much of any of them.
No one will cover it more than us. No one.
Yeah. We will. Maybe we'll tear it down like clip. Maybe we'll do a clip show. We'll do a clip show.
We'll do an episode where we literally go clip by clip.
We'll go clip by clip with Mehmet.
That actually needs to happen when it happens.
So it looks like you have 6,000 shares of United Healthcare stock. We believe this could be which, by the way, I did see speaking of headlines, I did see a headline that said, supposedly he said he would sell his stock. Allegedly. I don't know if that's true or not. I guarantee it's going to come up during the confirmation hearing, his stock in United Healthcare and other insurance carriers potentially. But obviously, I think if he comes to his position, he gets through his Senate confirmation hearing. That's going to radically potentially change stuff like this that we're discussing right now. There's proposals from CMS, about ACA and Medicare. So It's going to be really, really interesting to see where we end up in the next couple months. We have the final rule has the stay held in a court in Texas. That judge is supposed to rule by the end of this month as well. We are right around the corner from some big changes. So again, stay tuned. We're going to keep you guys updated. I thought this was an interesting kind of peek into what could potentially be coming for ACA, and I'm sure there probably will be some change. I'm not saying that Emmett Smith behind me.
Emmett Smith is the CMS.
I'm not saying he's going to come in and axe all of this. He very well could come in and be like, yeah, $5. Let's go. Who knows? Who knows? It's just speculative at this point, but I'm excited. I'm honestly excited for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's few things that are better content for us than CMS proposals and CMS rules and things like that. So
yeah.
Part of me, as there's the agency owner part of me, hates every second of it. It's like, just leave me alone. But the podcaster side of me is like,
bring it on.
Let's go.
There's a comment here. I'm working the Walmart Medicare table today. There's a comment on the live stream. God bless you.
I'm sorry.
God bless you.
I hope it goes well. I hope it's the exception, not the rule.
I hope it goes well. I was just thinking about our Walmart content we did in Nashville that hasn't seen the light of day yet, but it will. It will.
I am determined that it will.
Even if it's a cardboard cutout of me.
We'll figure it out.
With my audio. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Final thoughts, Glenn. A lot of things covered in this podcast.
We ran the gauntlet. This was like a triathlon today. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna have to go take a nap after this. This was a mega packed episode, you guys. The ACA stuff I think was really interesting. Christian and I have been front row to a lot of this fraud over the years, and we keep hearing that the boot's going to drop. We've finally seen some changes, but I think we'll probably end up seeing some more. So, I would expect to see some changes in the near future. We'll again, stay tuned on that. The Medicare Advantage haters out there, it's not 2008 anymore. Let's move on, right? Let's move on. And we talked about the events at the beginning. We're coming into event season. It's wedding season. It's event season for Medicare agents. So the next 3 months, there will be lots of events. You're probably not able to go to all of them. So, do your homework, do your research, pick an event that really aligns with your goals and makes sense for you. So yeah, great episode. 71 tomorrow. Stay tuned. Freebie Friday. Comment on one of the streams. We're doing a giveaway. That's my final thoughts on today's episode. Mr. Brindle, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, jam-packed, a lot more topics in one episode than we normally do. Just a lot to talk about, guys. A lot going on. I think with the CMS proposal, we'll see what happens. I wouldn't get too worked up about it yet. If you are worked up about it, if it's going to impact your business in a big way. I think what this is I think it's a domino effect of, a lot of abuse for the last 4 or 5 years in the ACA space.
Yes.
So I think anytime you have crazy abuse like that, there's always going to be a correction every single time. So I'm not surprised in the slightest. And we'll just kind of see what happens. We'll cover it on this show as new information becomes available. Medicare Advantage hate. I love Medicare Advantage. I love Medicare Supplement. I'm a Medicare agent. I'm a Medicare specialist.
He's Medicare agnostic.
Medicare agnostic.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But truthfully, right? Like I think what Glenn said earlier in the show, and he hit it right on the head. You are doing your job as well as possible when you are educating on both sides and not coming with biases and presenting the plan that makes the most sense for each client.
Yes.
Period.
Yep.
That's what we've done since day one, and it's worked out pretty well for us. There's lots of agencies too that you can point to. You don't have to hate on the other side. I just, makes for good clickbait, I suppose. That's probably the main reason for it.
For sure. For sure.
And then in terms of the events, my last thing I'll say on that is, again, not trying to hate on Medicarians and what they're doing or any other event. Like, to me, it just was, I feel like I question if the method of the event is really what's in the best interest of the attendee. And I'll leave it at that. I feel like there is no better event you can go to than the summit this year. So make sure to get your tickets. There are not a ton available left. There still are some. We still have a couple of sponsorship spots open. We're going to have to close that off pretty soon, so we can order swag and etc. So make sure to reach out. Anything summit related. We only have about 3.5 months to go. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Appreciate you guys. And here's to your massive success. See you for episode 71. Thanks, everybody.